Hey, 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 loungers. I hope everybody is doing as great as I am this evening. Listen, guys, I am actually getting ready to go to bed. Hey, Clarky, I appreciate you coming in and everybody else that's going to be in the clouds and catch the replay. We're not going to be very long tonight. I actually just got done taking care of my business for the day, and I finally get the chance to like sit down and chill. And, I'm going to tell y'all. I have had a lot of thoughts just going through my head back and forth. I haven't even been back in the backyard talking to anybody about this. But I've been in back and forth in my head about some things that have been going on in the sector. And I'm just kind of wondering what you guys' opinion is of these things. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this real quick. And it's regarding accountability, right? And now the sector has been talking about this whole quote unquote accountability thing lately, right? And so, I've had some thoughts on that, and I just want to give you guys my opinion on this, and I actually want to hear you guys' opinions on this as well. So make sure y'all hit the like button on the way in, and let's go ahead and get started on the show. Again, we're not going to be very long tonight, but I just wanted to give you guys some quick thoughts on what I've been thinking. Okay, can you guys hear me now? Put a one in the chat if you can hear me, Clarky. I'm sorry about that. I was muted that whole time. My bad. I was talking to y'all too. Anyway, I was saying hey to Yvette. I appreciate you being in the building. Keeper, I appreciate you as well, and everybody else that's in the chat. Okay, great. I'm glad that you guys can hear me. I'll tell you guys, I have had a hell of a schedule lately. Okay, my schedule has changed a lot. There has been a lot of stuff I've been doing with the businesses and changing different things with that. And I've been working very hard at doing these things and, accomplishing my goals. So I'm very happy at that. Sometimes you might feel like you have a small setback, and then here you go with, brand new blessings, even starting with that, right? So I'm just excited about the way that things are going for the family. And thank you for that, Clark. Clark, I really appreciate that. I'll tell you guys, I've had some thoughts on some things, right? Because it's kind of coming to my mind based off of the recent goals that I have been accomplishing and the things that I've been able to do lately. I've had a lot of goals in life that I wasn't able to accomplish, earlier in life because I had a large family, because there were things that I had to do, right? And those were things, things that I wanted to do that I had to put on the back burner, which I think most parents do that, right? At some point, there's things that they might want and they might like to have or might want to see themselves accomplish that they might have to put on the back burner in order to be parents, right? And through those times, you make mistakes, you do things, you go through life, and you learn lessons and you get to new plateaus in life, right? At least that's the way it should be, right? Or at least that's the way you should be, or the trajectory you should be going, no matter what that trajectory is. And so, in my thoughts on that, and my interactions with the folks that I've been interacting with, the situations I've been interacting with, and then and looking at things with the sector, right, and how things are in the sector, and how people, have this idea of accountability in the sector, and how they've been talking about this accountability thing lately. And I wonder what you guys actually mean by that, right? Because on our side of the sector, where we're the cool kids, we've decided that accountability to us is based off of somebody who is actually accountable to us, right? Such as our spouses or our children or whatever the case may be, right? But it's somebody that has a closer proximity to us in life, in real life, as opposed to somebody who's on the internet, right? But is there a such thing as accountability when it comes to the internet? And should we be holding people, quote unquote, accountable to their behavior on the internet? I think to a certain degree that could be a thing, right? Only because, what we do on the internet with each other, could affect each other's real lives, right? So, for instance, if I find myself doxing multiple people in the sector, giving out people's information, looking up people's information and passing that all over the sector and so forth and so on. And I'm doing that to multiple people. Who holds me accountable for that behavior, right? Is it going to be me that holds myself accountable for that? Well, I don't know, because the person who's doing the doxing, right, obviously is already in that position. And so mentally, they're not in a position to hold themselves accountable because they don't feel like they are accountable to the situation. If they did, they wouldn't be doing the doxing in the first place, right? So, who holds that person accountable? The only person I feel like could actually hold that person to account for the doxing of them is the person who's been doxed, right? So let's give an example. We know now, and I'm not going to say that Kip's son was doxxed. I have a hard time saying that, simply because, number one, he's a content creator here on YouTube, right? Number two, he's a convicted pedophile that has been on the news, that has been all over the internet with this information. And he's been convicted several times over this situation. Okay, it's not like it's just once or twice. He has had multiple cases and situations that have happened that is public information, right? But when it comes down to it, right, the only person that really can hold anybody in the sector accountable for the information that's been passed around about his son is his son, right? And so far, in the past 4 years or so that this information has been out, or three to 4 years that this information has been public and has been out to the sector, his son hasn't come forth and pressed any charges against anybody that has spoken about this. And, I think there's a reason for that. Number one, there's not a single person that his son could really hold accountable for the truth, right? Because the truth is the truth. It is what it is, okay? So I have a hard time putting Kip and his son in that same category of the need to hold anybody accountable, okay? I really have a hard time with that, simply because of the situation that it is, right? I think when Kip was embarrassed about his son, hey, sweetheart, hey, Mind Chaos, real appreciate you. I did not want to call and get you up. I didn't know if you was up or not, and I know you be asleep at night. I do know you had a live about a half an hour ago, I was trying to get in and catch that, but I didn't get to see. But I didn't want to bother you, but I'm glad that you're here, and we'll talk after the show. Anyway, yeah. So I have a hard time saying that Kip and his son are in this situation of holding anybody to account for what his son's behavior has been. Right. The bottom line was there was an issue between Kip at the time and the AFWs, which Carrie Ann, I think you might have a case. Okay, and I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But at the time, there was an issue with Kip and the AFWs. The AFWs, based off of his relationship with Shaquem, the AFWs released his son's information to April and to Grown Man, and they released the information to the sector. Okay, that's how it got out here to the sector. It's not that it wasn't already public. It was. It was already had been published on the news. It had been published in newspaper articles. It had been published everywhere. So it's not like this was something that they had to dig for and dig and dig and dig and find in somebody's personal history somewhere. No, that's not what happened, right? So I'm saying all this, Carrie, because I heard you when you said that, Kip has a reason to be here, holding people to account for what happened with his son, right? The only person that Kip can hold to account for his son's behavior is Kip himself for being a fucked up father, right? Which is fine. This is what happened in the past, right? It is what it is. And also holding his grown ass almost 40-year-old son accountable for his own behavior, right? Because it seems like that has been the issue all these years, right? With, and I'm not saying that this is true or it isn't because I don't know. I was not in that man's household. The only thing I can say is based off of what Kip is saying and based off of what his son is saying and based off of what we're seeing, right? It sounds like Kip was a little lax in his son's life at times. And Kip has been, instead of, stepping up and being the father figure in his son's life, he has been the enabler in his son's life, which is the reason why he has pedophile charges and convictions on his own background. Because again, in Kip's own words, his son has, and we are the dummies to ever believe that his son would ever use his name and date of birth, right? Because they have different dates of birth. So it would be crazy for any of us to believe that his son would ever try to use his name in an attempt, to make it seem like he committed the crime and his son didn't, right? He said his son would never do that. So if that's the case, then that means that the background that's on your background is actually true. And it's not your son, according to you, because like I know, that that's actually on your background, right? So, again, the only argument that Kip has, right, is with his son, right? Or with himself. He doesn't have an argument with the public and with the sector, and he especially doesn't have an argument with Drama or with Triggs because they didn't talk about this for a whole year or two until after April and them talked about it, right? So we're not going to pretend that Triggs did some god awful, horrible things to him, Carrie, that allows this man to now step up and dox his entire family, contact his 14-year-old daughter, release his information, body cam footage, all this stuff, just because he's embarrassed about his son. When Triggs wasn't the one that put his son's information out there. And see, you know that, Carrie, because we used to talk about that. So I don't know why now, other than the fact that Kip, is willing to stand up for you and you're willing to stand up for him. Those are the only two reasons why you would be saying that, right? This whole thing. But the one argument that you do have is that they can't hold Kip. You're right. See, Anti and them are worried about losing Kip, right? Because he's their number one runner right now. She can't rely on Rev G. He's too much of a bitch. Right, Carrie? You know that. So, yeah, they are worried about losing Kip. right? I don't know how long you and his relationship would last, but well, you can deal with that. That's your issue. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But I think you're right about the thing about Kip is because of the relationship between him and the AFWs to begin with. Their relationship is a very shallow relationship to begin with. Okay? They only are allies because of Triggs. That's the only reason. And the problem is, every time we dismantle any reason that they have to even come for Triggs to begin with, they can't answer that. They can't tell you why they're really doing it. They keep coming up with all these excuses and lies and make, hey, Steph, I appreciate you, sweetheart. They keep coming up with all these excuses and lies and make up all this stuff and everything, but they don't have a solid answer for anybody about why they're actually doing this, right? Yeah. Kip doesn't have that answer. But Anti keeps, feeding him shit, and they keep feeding off of each other with the bullshit. But that is the only reason why they wouldn't last as a group, is because of the shallow relationship between Kip and that AFW group. The AFWs themselves, they solid, right? They got a little solid team. They got their little, Anti got her little cronies, right? Kip is kind of a temporary, like Remix was, right? He was a very temporary person. Pills was a temporary, right? Kip is a temporary too. He's just one of the strongest temps that they got, right? But eventually that relationship is going to blow sky high because, again, it is Anti and Rev G that released your son's information, and you still have not addressed them about that. And Carrie, that's something you know. So if you really want to get in with Kip, that might be the way to do it, right? To kind of have that conversation with him about that. Hold him to account, right? Because we're talking about accountability right now, right? Hold him to account for who actually put his son's information out here, since he's supposed to feel so victimized. Because again, show me, Carrie or Kip, where Triggs doxed him or his son. We've been waiting for years for you to show us that proof. And now, Carrie, you want to jump on the bandwagon with this nigga, right? Okay, cool. Show us the money. Where did Triggs ever dox him or his son or anybody in the sector for that matter? Are you saying, Carrie, that because Triggs talked big shit about this man, because Triggs made parody videos about him and you, right? That's the reason, that's the crime that he committed? That's the reason why he should feel victimized at this point? Because if that's the case, if that's the case, Carrie, then you should be held to account. If that's the case, because you done came at a list of motherfuckers in the sector. As a matter of fact, you named us. How many people you done came at, how much shit you done talked, how much all this and this. But I ain't never seen you actually dox nobody, right? I've seen you pass around Anti and Stargate's information behind the scenes. But I've never actually seen you dox anybody, to the sector. Never. But should we hold you accountable the way you want us to hold Triggs accountable, right? For talking shit, for making you feel bad, for making Kip feel bad, right? This is what we're supposed to hold him to account for. If we're supposed to hold him to account for that and dox his family and reach out to his daughter and children and his job and all that stuff, then it was okay for the AFWs to hold you to account, right? And reach out to your job, right? And find out about your daddy killing himself, right? And have you going crazy to the point that you're showing us that you got HIV, right? We should hold you to account because you think in your mind and using your logic, right? That is what we're doing. And see, now, this is where you want the sector to be, right? See, every little thing that everybody has ever done in their life, every one of you, everybody in the chat, Skunk, hey Skunky, I appreciate you. Mind Chaos, Bruce, Stephanie, Clark, all of us, we got to be held to account for every single issue we've ever created, every problem we've ever done, anything we've ever done wrong, right? We are supposed to put it before the sector so that this 100 people, including, Chat Lives Matter and all these people, can hold us to account for every single mistake that we've ever made, right? Anytime we've ever gone to prison, anytime we've ever gone to jail, anytime we've ever gotten a traffic violation, anytime we didn't pay our rent, anytime we didn't pay our electric bill, right? Anytime you didn't do one thing right, you should be held to a sector accountability for it. See, this is how stupid y'all niggas sound, right? See, when you break it down in layman's terms like that, this is how dumb this nonsense sounds. We don't care about any of y'all's past. I don't care about none of y'all's past. I promise you I don't. I don't know why you think we should, right? But if we're going to use your logic, right, then we're going to use your logic and say that everyone, for every little thing you have ever done in life, from the time you were born to now, you remember them peas that your mama gave you and you gave to the dog, right? You remember you were supposed to go and get the big switch and you went and got that little switch instead. Everything you've ever done wrong, okay, in life. We are supposed to bring it to the sector, and so that the sector can decide whether or not we should be held to account for our bullshit, okay? Because that is literally what you guys are telling us and asking us to do about Triggs, simply because you're embarrassed. Not because he actually committed a crime against you, because like I said, show me the money. Just like you're saying that you don't have HIV, right? And we're like, okay, why did you show us a baseline HIV testing? I don't understand why you did that, right? I don't know why you showed us a baseline HIV panel, but okay, on your medical history, but okay, right? But show us the fucking money. Listen, we around here, we want receipts. Hey, beautiful. I appreciate you being in the building, sis. Listen, we want receipts around here. We don't want to just hear your word for it, right? I know what you're about to say, Carrie. Well, we don't want to hear your word for it that Kip is a pedophile. I've been telling you, don't take my word for it. I've been telling you, please go do your own research on that. If you don't believe me, D. Durrell has a copy of it. You cool with him? Get a copy of it from him. Instead of being out here trying to get in bed with a pedophile so he can try to convince the sector too that you're not HIV positive. I don't know why y'all two want to convince us of things that we already know are true. But at the end of the day, at least get the information for yourself. Shit. It just is what it is. But on top of that, please show us any crime that this man, Ray Triggs, has committed against anybody in this sector. That would be Kip. That would be Kip's son. Because, again, dropping down in somebody's YouTube channel chat room is not a fucking crime. It isn't. Especially if there's no protective order from that person against them that says that they can't be there. Right? Catch. The nigga never put a fucking protective order against him or anything. He's never done nothing. The son, the one who's the crime, quote unquote, was committed against, right? And again, if it was a crime and he was doxxed, When are you going to ask your friend Kip, right? Because now you on that ship with him. When are you going to ask Kip to hold Anti and them accountable? See, you telling Stargate to hold Anti accountable. You telling Stargate to and breaking the whole Anti. No, bitch. You need to tell Kip to hold Anti and them accountable. Anti and Rev G accountable for releasing his son's information. And then his son needs to hold Anti and Rev G accountable for releasing his son's information to the sector. But again, was that a crime? Was it really a crime for Rev G to share with April and Grown Man and the other person that he shared it with? I ain't gonna mention no names, but the other person that he shared it with. Was it really a crime for him to share public knowledge about a pedophile, a convicted pedophile? Was that really the crime? What's the crime? Oh, the crime is you're embarrassed. Got it. Okay. Like Kip is embarrassed, right? Kip is embarrassed by Triggs. You're embarrassed by Triggs. You're also jealous of any women that are around Triggs, right? We're going to speak on that too, right? And because you want them, right? Let's be real. Okay, yeah, you want the nigga. Let's be real, right? Okay, because nobody else would go this crazy over a nigga on the internet, okay? But you, of course, you. We're talking about you here. But either way, let's see you show and tell. Since you want us to be holding people accountable, right? Holding everybody accountable for everything, then we're going to put it down to the fucking accountability that you're asking for, right? See, be careful what the fuck you ask for, right? Bitch, since everybody's a bitch, since my handmaidens are bitches, no bitch. Let's see about accountability, right? Let's see you ask your newfound friend whether he's going to hold his friends accountable for putting this quote unquote crime of his son's information out on these YouTube streets. And ma'am, the only crime that's been committed against you is yourself. You opening up that old ass computer you got and showing us your medical history. That's the only crime that's been committed against you, right? You're embarrassed. Okay. Oh well. You'll get over it eventually. Eventually. But either way, those are my thoughts on what I've been thinking. I appreciate all of y'all for coming through. Y'all make sure y'all do hit the like button. Is it a crime, child? I'm just saying, is it a crime? You said if Kip is saying that Ra has the house in Virginia, so does he, since he kissed the mic. So they are kindred spirits. Exactly, right? I'm just saying. Obviously, you must have it too if you kissed the mic, sir. Because Shakim not only showed that you kissed the mic, but Shakim said that you kissed the mic. He showed evidence of you kissing the mic, sir. So if you kissed the mic and he has a house in Virginia, then you also got a house in Virginia. It just is what it is. I guess you, him, and Carrie all got a house in Virginia. The only thing about it is Carrie really does have a house in Virginia. Real shit. She got a house in Georgia and a house in Virginia, child. Anyway, we out of here. Let me take my ass to bed, y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming out, and make sure y'all hit the like button. I told y'all we wasn't going to be very long tonight. And peace, guys. Thank y'all again for watching. I will see y'all soon, and I'll see y'all in the backyard, y'all, in a couple minutes. I'll be back there in a couple minutes. Peace, y'all.